The Toronto Blue Jays have been quite active this offseason. They've made some transactions, but we're still awaiting that major blockbuster move, and the Blue Jays have been rumored to be in on one of the best relievers, if not the best reliever in the National League. So we'll break down that potential scenario and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. Welcome in, everybody, to Jays Digest. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And before we get into the trade update, we want to let you know that this video is brought to you by Rentals.ca, who is a proud supporter of Team Canada. And while they've been supporting our national team, helping them defend their home court in international competition, they've also been helping thousands of Canadians just like you find your home floors all across the country. Whether you're in Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Ottawa, Calgary, Halifax, Winnipeg, Mississauga, Edmonton, Victoria, St. John's, it doesn't matter. Rentals has you covered.
Yeah, from coast to coast, they have a ton of options to find the perfect place and price for you. And the best part is the website's clean, super easy to use, and you can pinpoint exactly on the map where you want to move, finding all the available options in your area. So find your home court with Rentals.ca and check out the link in the pinned comment as well as the description down below. And thank you again to Rentals.ca for supporting us, supporting Team Canada, and supporting you guys in finding the best rentals across the country. Now, Peter, there's a lot of things going on, and thank you once again to Rentals.ca for sponsoring this video. The Jays, they still are in on Santander. They're in on Teoscar Hernandez, Corbin Burns, all these players. But one name that has come up now from 3 different reporters and even 4, which we'll get into if you date back to a few weeks ago here, is Ryan Helsley. And he is he's been linked to the Jays for a very long time now. We heard them a couple off seasons ago when the Cardinals needed a catcher and the Jays were debating trading Moreno and Alejandro Kirk way back then. But now you can see this here. The Jays and the Diamondbacks have expressed interest in Ryan Helsley, according to Mark Feinsand, notable reporter, and some other reporters here. And I just want to get your thoughts on this. Now, this would, of course, be a trade. This wouldn't be a free agent signing, so you'd have to make a deal with the Cardinals. And there's a lot of different teams and a lot of different trades that are going on right now. We saw Josh Naylor get traded. We saw this morning Jesus Luzardo get traded to the Philadelphia Phillies. So the trade market is more active than the free agency market at this point. And what the article from Mark Feinsand says that the Cardinals are planning a reset for 2025 in hopes of clearing payroll. In addition, they're saying that their intention is to trade Nolan Arenado as well as Ryan Helsley, and the Jays and D-backs are interested in that. And we also have a report from Jeff Passan, which we'll get to in a little bit here. Peter, what are your thoughts on the Jays trading for a guy like Ryan Helsley? It's interesting. He's one of the best closers in baseball, but the Jays aren't a Ryan Helsley away from competing for a playoff spot or a World Series spot. But if they have other plans to get a guy like Teoscar Hernandez, then this signing can make some sense. Or trade, sorry, can make some sense.
Well, it makes sense either way, but yeah, this can't really be your headlining move. It provides you a lot of clarity in your bullpen, that's for sure, because Ryan Helsley immediately becomes your closer. He's one of the best relievers in baseball with a triple digits fastball, an absolutely nasty breaking ball. So he's one of the best relief options in the game. And I think that would really solidify your bullpen. An area of concern that is of great concern for the Toronto Blue Jays going into the season. And the Blue Jays and Cardinals have been trade partners in the past before. We remember a couple of off seasons ago when they traded for Jordan Hicks, when they traded for Paul DeJong, which ultimately didn't end up working out. But they've also gotten Genesis Cabrera too. They've been known to make trades with the St. Louis Cardinals, so that's why maybe the two front offices have a good relationship with one another, which could give the Jays a leg up in some negotiations. Which is why it's given me a little bit more hope about this report than some of the other ones that we've seen. But I'll go back to the Devin Williams trade that saw the Milwaukee Brewers send Devin Williams, who I believe is also one of the best closers and relievers in baseball, to the New York Yankees for a prospect and Nestor Cortez, who even though has had a couple of down seasons, is a starting pitcher who's a lefty with control, who has had some success in the big leagues. So that's a pretty steep price to pay for just 1 year of Devin Williams. And I believe Ryan Helsley is significantly better than Devin Williams. So I'm just trying to piece together what the price would be to go out and acquire him, because a starting pitcher with control, and that's a major leaguer, I may add, and a prospect that's, pretty solid, that is not a great prospect by any chance, but has a shot to be a major leaguer for 1 year of a relief option. That's a bit of a steep price to pay, in my opinion. I'm sure Yankee fans are happy, but they also signed Max Fried. So I thought Nestor Cortez was probably expendable for them, and they thought the same way. So I don't know if the Blue Jays have any starting pitching options with control to just give away to the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't think they're in a position to do that.
Yeah, it's at an interesting point now. Nestor Cortez, I believe, only has 1 year left on his deal at 8 million. But at the same time, they did give up a prospect. And you mentioned how you think Ryan Helsley is better than, of course, Devin Williams. I think it's interesting. I think there's definitely a case to be made. Devin Williams has seen some postseason struggles, of course. When you're looking at Ryan Helsley now, a 2.04 ERA in 65 games, some of the best peripherals you'll ever see in a reliever. Reminds me of Edwin Diaz from a couple of years ago with the Mets. 2023, phenomenal. Even 2022, and he has a very good track record of being an elite reliever in this league. I mean, 9-1 back in 2022. So ultimately, he's a very good closer. Probably, but I'd also probably prefer him over Devin Williams if you had to give me one or the other. When you're looking at a potential trade for it, there's been some articles that are dropping here. And this one was dropped early in December before the Andres Jimenez trade, but it highlights a guy like Aurelvis Martinez, Horwitz is gone, or Addison
Yeah.
Barger, and then predicts Helsley to sign a 6-year, $81 million deal, according to Spot Track. So I don't know if you'd be, and let us know down below, would you be comfortable giving up one of Addison Barger or Aurelvis Martinez in a deal for this? I'd be fine giving up Addison Barger in a trade for Helsley. Aurelvis, on the other hand, I think that's a much tougher pill to
Yeah.
swallow, as I think he's going to be probably a cornerstone for this team for the next, half decade or more.
Yeah, and the jury is still out on Aurelvis Martinez because he missed a lot of time last year, and hopefully he can get back to his power hitting ways because we know how badly the Blue Jays desperately need that. And you're right on the Nestor Cortez front; he is a free agent after this year, but the point still stands. I don't know if the Blue Jays have
They'll
any
probably extend him
start.
anyway.
Yeah, they might be able to extend him because it's probably going to be cheaper than it was a couple of years ago to do that. But I don't think, off the top of my head, the Blue Jays don't have any expiring pitchers. Maybe Chris Bassett, but I don't think you're in a position to give away Chris Bassett. And I'm sure the St. Louis Cardinals won't want to take on a 35-year-old Chris Bassett for Ryan Helsley. I think they're going to be looking to kind of reset their team and look more towards the future. So it's no disrespect to Chris Bassett, but I just think it doesn't make sense for either team. So yeah, the Blue Jays would have to part ways with one of their position player prospects. And if it is Aurelvis Martinez, considering that this is just for one season and what he's in line to make, 6 years, $81 million, I don't think I'm comfortable with that because Aurelvis, I do believe, has a very high ceiling and probably the highest ceiling of any Blue Jays hitting prospect that we've seen since Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or Bo Bichette.
Yeah, I mean, his ceiling is a 40 home run guy, maybe even more if he obviously hits the ceiling. And it's interesting. Horwitz obviously is gone. I think he would have been a cool fit for obviously now the Cardinals, they obviously needed for first baseman and things like that. But you look back now to earlier on in the offseason when Jeff Passan came out and predicted Helsley to Toronto and called him the perfect transaction. And he basically said that Helsley is as good as gone. If that's the case, the Jays should be interested in that. In his little article, he had the Jays as the perfect fit for Ryan Helsley. So a lot of different reporters are coming out about it. I would like to see them maybe sign a hitter first because they still desperately
Yeah.
need one of those. They obviously have Jimenez, who I think is going to be very solid. But as his team currently stands, Helsley would be their closer. He would help a lot. And regarding a trade, I don't know if the Cardinals would accept Addison Barger straight up for Ryan Helsley. You'd obviously need to add probably another prospect, someone young. Obviously, Barger's young as well, but someone who maybe has a bit more upside. But it's going to be interesting to see ultimately what happens with that. Let us know down below. What's the most amount of prospects slash whatever you want to, different levels of prospects and tiers that you would give up for Ryan Helsley? And thank you again to rentals.ca for sponsoring this video. Check them out in the pinned comment and the description down below. We'll see you guys later.